Distinguished
Değerli
participants,
katılımcılar,
distinguished guests,
İngiltere'nin en önemli düşünce kuruluşlarından
I'd like
olan
to
Gezi
begin my
Park'ta
speech by expressing my pleasure to be together with you here in Chatham House, which is one of the most prominent policy institutes and think tank institutes of the United Kingdom. I have made similar speeches in many countries so far, and the most recent one was the Kurdish endowment in US in November. The topic of my speech there was challenges and successes in Turkey's democracy process. And today I'm here to speak on a different and challenging topic. You would appreciate how demanding it could be to talk about the future of country's democracy. However, we assert that there will be more democracy, more freedom, and more human rights in Turkey's future. We have always considered democracy as a pole star for Turkey, an indispensable value. Maintaining our stance, we want that daily events be discussed by distinguishing facts and perceptions. Each topic and event needs to be assessed in its own conditions and context. If you discuss the topics about Turkey with a perception that is based on the conditions in the UK, then you will fail to solve issues. I believe that assessing the events by focusing on each country's own position and conditions will provide the most accurate image of that country. I see democracy as a journey of equality which rests on a sound basis and grows with changes. As a jurist, I believe that the significance of equality lies in its role as a protector of rights and freedoms. The last 12 years have been the period when the Republic of Turkey witnessed the most considerable steps towards democracy in its history of 90 years. We have no intention at all to reverse this investment we've made in the democracy in these 12 years period of time. We've made a promise to our people and to the world. In a way, we signed Rousseau's social contract with our people, and our endeavor is to build a future for Turkey where equality, rule of law, and rights will expand to the utmost. I could say that our contract with our people is similar to Magna Carta. We have unfortunately not been able to succeed in our efforts for a new constitution. We have tried every way, but we couldn't achieve for now. In spite of a coup area institution, or constitution, beg your pardon, we built a new Turkey of rights and freedoms within legal boundaries in the last 12 years. We do not have a constitution which prioritizes democracy, rights, and freedoms, but we have a government that keeps the words given to its people. People believed in the promises we made back in 2002, and we've been in power for the last 12 years, backed by a record vote. Turkey addresses to humanity both in its vicinity and globally with a different voice and stance in our world politics. Distinguished guests, limits of security and freedom is a topic that demands fine-tuning in a democratic country. The first action taken by AK Party, Justice and Development Party, in this regard has been the lifting or removal of the state of emergency. Our citizens breathed a sigh of relief after a long period of time. With this first action of ours and numerous legal regulations, we have expanded freedoms in a 12-year period. Now I would like to mention some of these legal regulations. Reinstatement of citizenship rights, abolishment of the state security courts, and special authority courts that are planned recently, rewording place name changes, policy of zero tolerance to torture, establishment of the Ombudsman institution, improvements towards ensuring a fair and speedy trial. There have been improvements in nearly 80 topics, and this determination has its source in our belief in democracy, and many articles of the Constitution have changed accordingly. Within the broad democracy perspective of Turkey, our priority is to ensure that Turkey becomes a land of peace. Turkey lost nearly 40,000 people because of the terrorist activities that have continued for the last 40 years. In a similar case, through that figures might differ, around 2,500 people lost their lives during the troubled times with Iraq. So the number of people who lost their lives as a result of terrorism is more than 15-fold when compared to the case of Iraq. Billions of Turkish liras and US dollars were spent for security measures. We don't want to lose one more life to terrorism. The most basic aspect of democracy is the protection of human rights, isn't it? Therefore, taking a great political risk, we have initiated the settlement process to address terrorism, which is the greatest challenge of new Turkey. Our goal is to put an end to violence and clear way for politics as much as we can. We view that the Kurdish issue from a perspective of democratic rights. At this point, we are maintaining a settlement process that is based on participatory democracy. We hold an attitude that centers on the rights and demands of all our citizens. As a part of our efforts to provide our citizens with more state services and easier access to those services, we are clearing the way for education in different languages and dialects other than Turkish at private schools. While the use of Kurdish is a birthright, it has been exploited for terrorism. Kurds were not able to speak Kurdish in public in the mid-40s and after the 1980 coup. The changes in this issue in the last 5 years have pulled the Kurdish language out of the boundaries of security theories and made it a topic of human rights. The Kurdish to Turkish dictionary by the Turkish Language Association will be available for public very soon. I have personally been involved in following this project. There is no place for guns and violence in the democracies, no matter what. We have only one principle regarding the Kurdish issue: maximizing the democracy and freedoms and minimizing the terror as much as possible. This is why Turkey needs more democracy, and we do not want to see terrorism in the future of Turkey. We want to leave the PKK and Kurdish issues behind and make Turkey prosperous, peaceful, and powerful. Distinguished guests, our 90 years old republic has fed from the essence of democracy and transformed into a real democratic republic in the last 12 years. The last output of this advance in democracy is the Democracy Package announced on 30th December 2013. The package was not prepared behind closed doors, but it was rather elaborated with the active participation of every section of the society. We've stated that this work was neither an end nor a beginning, and we have presented a new democracy package to the Parliament. We will diminish the period of detention to 5 years and abolish the special courts with this new democracy package. And Turkey takes firm steps towards becoming a country where everyone can freely express themselves, talk about the future, and live freely. At this point, I'd like to emphasize on a misperception concerning our country. I often make statements on freedom of press as the Deputy Prime Minister responsible for press and information. We regret to see news alleging that Turkey is a country where journalists are locked up, although we inform our foreign friends and press members on this issue on every occasion. Turkey is a country which expands the freedom of press and makes holistic progress to this end, despite all these reports and all the discussions taking place. I'd like to underline a subject by sharing the latest data with you. There are now 40 arrested journalists in Turkey, according to the list submitted to the Ministry of Justice by the Committee to Protect Journalists in December 2013. I asked for a detailed research on the names stated in the list. 2 of these 40 journalists have been released. The judicial process of 12 others has ended, and they have been sentenced, and the remaining 26 journalists are still under detention. These people have been charged mostly with such petty crimes as membership of a terrorist organization, theft. In other words, there are huge differences between the statements in the report and the facts. Let's assume that someone is arrested And when they're asked about their profession, they say they're a journalist. Does this answer mean that they were arrested for journalism? Then we should ask about the number of arrested doctors and engineers and lawyers and academicians. I'm calling on those who write reports, express their opinions, and direct the global public opinion on this issue once again. There are only a handful of people in Turkey who have been arrested due to their profession of journalism. You cannot achieve anything by writing names on the reports because law requires proof. I also maintain that such allegations are made on purpose. When someone who is claimed to have placed a bomb somewhere or killed a police officer, when he is arrested, he can say that they're a journalist. He's a journalist and added to the list of arrested journalists. I closely follow the media-related events in the United Kingdom. Can we associate the acts of those who were responsible for dropping the scandal covered by Leveson report with journalism? I do believe that those who have been arrested for actions other than journalism claim to be a journalist on purpose to depict Turkey as a country of arrested journalists. I'd like to raise another issue about enhancing the freedom of press. We have expanded the border between terror propaganda and freedom of press in favor of freedoms with the three judicial reform packages. However, if a journalist has committed a crime, does it comply with the equality principle of democracy to favor them just because they are journalists? I'm also a lawyer and worked as a criminal lawyer for 25 years. I defended many people who were tried for death. And I would like to state that as a lawyer, that Turkey drew the line between penalty and freedom of press in a perfect way. It is the responsibility of journalists to stay away from crimes and violence in order to not to get involved in any legal processes that are very well set by the laws enacted recently. Distinguished guests, we think that the great transformation that Turkey has been undergoing since 2002 contributes to the development of our people and the whole humanity. As the Deputy Prime Minister responsible for foundations and the government spokesman, I personally followed the process of returning the foundation properties which belong to different religious groups. We have concluded the return of 250 foundation properties worth of 2.5 billion Turkish liras, 1.2 billion US dollars. And with the recent democracy package, we have also returned the Mor Gabriel Monastery's land. Thus, with political willpower, we have rapidly resolved a problem which has distressed our people and the Syrian friends for a long time. I also believe that we will get positive results concerning the Halki Seminary in a short time, which will also fall under my responsibility. The regime of democracy allows minorities to express themselves and come to power. I consider tyranny of majority as the most important problem in front of democracy. The only way to overcome this problem is through the distinction between majority and plurality. In this context, I would like to refer to the Gezi Park events, which topped Turkey's agenda in June. Indeed, we have gone through a period where these incidents, which started as a sensitivity about environment, turned into a major problem. And I can assure you that we were tested. And we have run the control mechanisms very well. I mean, in a way we were tested, yet we put in place supervision and control mechanisms against all extreme forms of action by security forces. Occupy Wall Street protests in the U.S. were of similar nature. I recall the police intervention that day. Turkey, unfortunately, is a country that is involved in a fight against terrorist organizations. We have always tried to observe the fine line between Gezi events and terrorism. The moment that the events seemed to shift toward violence, it was time to draw the line, and we passed that test. Indeed, I believe Gezi was a good reason indeed good lesson in terms of the level that our democracy has reached and of the management of the process by our government. Distinguished guests, unfortunately, there is an information pollution around the world today. We create ideas without information to build upon. A piece of news, a photo, or an expression on internet is perceived to be real by millions of people without further research. We consume information so quickly that no one does not have enough time to correct a mistake before a new mistake comes up. Information, news, photos, and videos are consumed as the dignities, lives, and personal information of individuals are ruined. And we have drawn up a new internet regulation to prevent these problems. We mainly aim to regulate by law the huge benefits as well as the harmful aspects of the internet. The primary purpose of the internet regulation is to protect the rights of the individual. There are so many victims of internet. We, as politicians, have relatively been least affected party, because if there's, we have the chance to immediately deny an allegation in front of the press, and so many false allegations are raised about politicians that the public at one point gets used to this. However, there are people whose lives are ruined and their family lives are damaged as they lack such means. We have drafted a bill to make the internet more humane. In the event of a violation of individual rights on the internet, the relevant content will be removed by an independent board called Access Providers Union, and the court's ruling will follow. It is because a court ruling to block a web page has no meaning once a certain time has elapsed after the publication of a content about an individual. We are changing the system, and I believe that the new bill will set an example. I'd like to read out Article 12 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. No one shall be subjected to arbitrary interference with his privacy, family, home, or correspondence, nor to attacks upon his honor and reputation. Everyone has the right to the protection of law under such interference or attacks. According to the declaration, governments have the primary duty of taking measures against attempts threatening human dignity. We are fulfilling this duty. The internet legislation has no connection with the Gezi events or the latest developments. The government has been working on this regulation for the last 2 years. Parties involved have submitted their opinions on this bills to the relevant ministry in April 2013 prior to these incidents. At the heart of these ideas lies the sincere belief in democracy that Turkey maintained during the 12-year AK Party rule and will maintain in the future. Rest assured about the future of democracy in Turkey. It's not possible to alter reality with wrong perceptions. Before I end my speech, I'd like to assure that Turkey will continue to keep the bar of democracy high in the future. I'm concluding my words here, awaiting your questions to further elaborate on these issues. And I'd like to thank you very much for your patience and participation, and for giving me the opportunity to address to such a distinguished crowd in this prominent institution.